Good morning, everybody. 801. Welcome to my channel. Market finally broke out of that balance yesterday. Now in futures, it did not go above last week's highs. Okay, neither did the Nasdaq. However, yesterday market internals were very strong. They didn't start off strong. Okay, they didn't start off strong. Communications was down pretty good early on. Okay, now the important thing is not the important thing. Yesterday, I was begging for some type of pullback that I could buy into. It didn't really come till later in the session. I did get long later in the session and had a nice move, but then it just died. So then I just had a small profit. I was almost up like 1 hour, and I was like, okay, this should go, test the highs, and then it just died. All right. Now, today we have data at 9:45, data at 10 a.m. We got PMI, ISM. All right, so we have that on the books today. We have ADP employment change at 8:15 a.m. And sometimes that moves markets. All right, sometimes. All right, and we'll get into the 1 hour futures. I got a lot of things to show you what I pretty much called yesterday, and yeah, why don't we just get into it? Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the market, along with gamma exposure levels, supply and demand, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, in the previous day. All right, that's my edge. Anchor VWAPs also, and my trusty market internals, which lets me know the internals of the market. Okay, who's strong, what's driving price, what's not driving price. All that helps me set up a trade when the market opens. Okay, and I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna start to review market internals every day just to show you guys every day how they looked, how they closed. All right. Now, hopefully, join me every morning. All right. Give you the market story, give you the economic calendar, the market news, leaders and laggards. All right. Go over daily charts, hourly charts, and we analyze those ES and Nasdaq futures and give you trade scenarios. And then if you like, I go in my Discord when the market opens. You can see my thoughts, and you can join my server, Confluence Trading. Okay, go to my YouTube homepage. Okay. All right. Why don't we get right into futures watch list and see what's driving markets today? All right. Let's see what's driving markets. We have at the top of the list Bitcoin. All right. Bitcoin's at 105, 610, followed by the Russell up 0.23. Actually, Nasdaq up 0.23 as well. ES up 0.21. Ethereum up 0.17. Dow's up 0.15. 30-year bonds being bought slightly up 0.14. Crude's flat. Dollar's flat. 10-year yield is slightly down 0.11. Gold down 0.20. Silver down 0.28. And the VIX is down right at 17.44 VIX. Okay. Makes sense. You make a move like that. Okay. Moving on to the Mag 7 Plus. Nvidia up 0.91. That could not break 142 yesterday. Okay, it is above that now. Broadcom has earnings coming up, I believe tomorrow. And they have been on a meteoric rise, run up to earnings. Okay, AMD is up 0.74, so semis showing some strength this morning. Coinbase up 0.62, Tesla's up 0.61 despite missing delivery numbers. Let's see, Amazon up 0.59, Meta's up 0.58, Google's up 0.41, Eli Lilly up 0.37, GE up 0.26, JP Morgan up 0.09, Netflix up 0.07, Microsoft up 0.05, Boeing's flat, Berkshire Hathaway's flat, and Apple's your laggard down 0.28%. Okay. Snowflake, we'll just show you this top sector stocks real quick. Snowflake's up 3.51. Okay, 3.51. There's no laggard in that list. Moving on to sectors. Remember what I say. This is a risk on, risk off indicator. The sector semis is up 0.89. That's the leader, followed by financials, followed by technology up 0.23, followed by healthcare, energy, discretionary. There is no lagging sector today. There is no lagging sector. I mean, communications is flat, but it's not down. Okay, that was down. That was the laggard of the day yesterday when we started, and it was like a piano on the back. All right, and then I noticed a lot of the Mag 7 stocks were muted yesterday, but the overall market kind of got some love, right? It didn't start out that way and changed. Okay, and I think we're going to go right into internals right now. So now that I'm talking about sectors, I think we go right into the internals, and I'll just show you. Okay, this is how we ended the day. Big, strong internals. 2.36 to 1 volume going into buy up stocks versus down stocks in the NYSE. 2.77 to 1 buying going into up stocks versus down stocks in the NASDAQ exchange. Okay, these were not like this early on. You could see Infotech driving the market up 1.37%. Up 1.37%. Semis were pretty strong yesterday. Okay, financials green. Financials was actually down at one point. Healthcare had some love. Only little weakness here, you could see communications kind of made it flat for the day, but they were down. You can see here in the beginning of the opening of the market, it was mixed. Actually went negative, and you can see the equal weight. Okay, overall market was weaker than the market cap, and this is a feather in the cap for bulls. All right, and then look what happened. That white line overtook the market cap because the Mag 7s were kind of muted. Okay, we're kind of muted. Okay, now if you look at my Discord here, I'm gonna go bring up my Discord. I'm just gonna show you how we opened up in my I post these. So let's go to my Discord. So right here, this is how at 9:49. See how communications was red, down 0.65. See if financials was down, right? Then at 11:11, communications. See how this changed a lot. See, we started to get stronger. I said I was looking too long, looking for longs. It just never got my pullback until later on. All right, that wraps up the internals. Let's go into the economic calendar. All right. Okay, so today, 30-year mortgage came out. It actually went down a little bit. Okay. ADP employment change is going to come out in about a little less than 6 minutes. Okay. Fed Bostic speaking at 8:30. Then we get PMI at 9:45. And 10 a.m. you got a bunch of ISM. That I'm going to wait for. Okay. That I'm going to wait for. And then crude inventories at 10:30. 1 p.m. Fed Cook. Okay. 1 p.m. Fed Cook. All right. Let's get into some news. So, Hewlett Packard stock jumped 5.8 after the server maker beat second quarter revenue. CrowdStrike stock slumped 6.8 after the cybersecurity company reported revenue guidance for the current quarter that fell short of expectations. Dollar Tree stock fell 3.1 after the discount retailer declined to lift its full year guidance. Apple stock fell 0.5 after Needham downgraded its stance on the iPhone maker to a hold from buy. Tesla stock rose 0.6 despite the decline in U.S. automakers China-made electric vehicle sales. Wells Fargo stock rose 2.6 after the U.S. Federal Reserve lifted a long-standing cap on the lender's assets. Global Found, we don't gonna get to that. I'm not into those. Moving on to more news. Let's see. Trump set to waive some legal requirements to boost critical minerals. Let's see. Tesla, we talked about that. Just Trying to see anything else to note. If there's nothing major, I'm going to move on here. All right, let's see here. CrowdStrike, Raymond James raises target price 485 to 390 despite the miss. Dollar General, JP Morgan raises target price 95 from 188. Wells Fargo, KBW raises target price to 80 from 75. Alrighty. The juice didn't have much. Now, the only thing I did see is Trump did post something on Truth Social. He said Trump stated in late night social media post that Chinese President Xi was difficult to deal with, casting doubt on the viability of the world's two largest economies. Interesting. Don't know when he exactly posted that. Oh, here it is. Like 2 in the morning. And the market doesn't seem to care much. Okay. Oh, here we go. So, more like events here. Trump budget director Vought speaks at 2 p.m. 3 p.m. Trump signs proclamations. Okay, so Trump, I'm not going to be, I shouldn't be involved in the market at all at this time. All right. Alrighty. I think, do I want to get into breadth charts? Don't think so. No, not today. It's not going to show anything different. All right. Moving on. Daily charts. All right, moving on to daily charts. Here's our good old daily charts. Alrighty. So you can see, let's just zoom in more here. You can see that's last week's highs. So we closed above last week's highs, right? But we found resistance and closed right at last month's highs. Notice the resistance from the past here. Okay, so it's a breakout of this little balance, but overall, this resistance is still here. Okay, that would be a better breakout, right, above that level. And then you can go towards all-time highs. But you can see you got monthly, last month's highs, you got another monthly high here as well. Okay, and all this congestion, which I think would slow down the markets. Okay, where are we at now? 597.50, let's call it. We're at the close to the highs yesterday. Okay, let's look at futures. And you can see in futures, here was that high put in, right, last week. So in futures, we didn't even hit last week's highs. But you can see how many weeks, weekly high, weekly high, weekly high, right? We've been bouncing for a while now. Okay. So that's the big level. Next, probably resistance area is this monthly high here, like 60, 60, 60, 60, let's call it. Okay, 60, 60. So it looks like a monster move yesterday, but really we're still in balance in this major balance area. Okay, moving on to Qs. Okay, so the Qs, now remember, it had a different structure because look, it broke out that one day, but then couldn't close. So what do we do here? This is last month's highs and last week's highs, and we close right above it. Okay, we are really close to all-time highs up here, 540.81. Okay, you got this congestion to the left. All right, congestion to the left. Where are we now? 527. Let's call it 527.80. Oh, 527. Yeah, 527.80. Okay. So we're at the highs, at the upper set part of the session of yesterday. It's still kind of bullish. All right. Let's look at futures. Good old NASDAQ futures. All right. So you can see this wick has not been taken out yet. You can see in futures we did not reach last month's highs or last week's highs, but the QQQ did. Now remember, futures are different because it's overnight activity included in this, so that's what makes it different. Okay, that's what makes it different. All-time highs 226.72, 226.72. But you can see so much price action here. I believe we should get caught up in this like a web and get some pullback or something, before we just rip up there. I don't think we're going to rip up there like that. But you never know in these crazy markets. All right, moving on to triple-headed monster. Let's look at that bond market, which is really doing nothing. So muted. So muted, this bond market. This could possibly move with maybe unemployment jumping up this coming week. Who knows? It's really just, there's the anchored VWAP from 2025 this year. You're literally right on it. Equilibrium, okay? That's what that is. Equilibrium. Let's go to dollar. Like I've been saying this, I believe this dollar is going to bottom out. And I believe eventually you're going to get a nice move up. Again, that doesn't mean it has to happen. You're just bottoming out here. Okay. Now I know this looks like a head and shoulders, which could be bearish, but this is just kind of overcooked. But I don't know. I don't predict. That's one thing I don't do is predict. All right. Just look at scenarios here. Let's go to your VIX. Remember, VIX is 30 days out of fear. 30 days out hedging, whatever you want to call it. We are at 17.61 VIX. Remember, 16 VIX is 1% expected move in the SP 500 plus or minus. So we still have nice ranges. All right, moving on to hourly. Ooh, look at that. 8:15 happened. I guess the ADP. We're moving on ADP news. Ooh, had a little miss there. ADP numbers. All right. Let's just go right here to the data, and we'll see the ADP employment change here. And it's right here, day 15. So look, the consensus was 115. It only added 37. So that's a pretty big miss. Okay. And this lines perfectly up with what I have on my charts for the hourly charts. Okay. We talk about this. I'm going to bring this chart down. Alrighty. Let's go over to those hourly charts here. All right. Get my trusty marker out. Oh, it's already out. All right. So, look at this nice little red candle at its consolidation from the ADP miss. Okay. There is an ascending little wedge here. Started right here. And we're kind of breaking out of that a little bit. Notice how price is compressing. Right. Let's see. Always like to just have something like that on my chart just to give me some structure to look at with other confluence. Okay, with other confluence. Now, if you look at this chart, this is what I was talking about. Now, I don't generally do this, but when the market was down here and was holding it, I said, "Ooh, I would like to swing trade that possibly in the ES, but I don't really like doing that because the open could do whatever it wants." But that was really, when you pushed up, pulled back to this major level and held it, that was the long, boy. Right? That was the long. Okay? Remember I said, find acceptance above this level, you got to be bullish. Right? Now, here's the reason I wanted a long so bad yesterday to a pullback, which I didn't get. Okay? Which I didn't get. Because I talked about this yesterday. This move down was poor structure. Okay? Usually when you have poor structure like that and you don't consolidate, move down, don't consolidate, move down, it's very easy to have a symmetrical move back up to match it, right? So that's why when we came out of this, I wanted a pullback because I felt that it's a good chance that because we're coming from ultimate balance, which is the most traded price of this year, okay, and the month, okay, that once you move away from this price, people are going to short cover, and we should match this. So almost like, give me that pullback, give me that pullback. I wanted something like a little bit like this for me to join the ride up into this supply zone. Okay. Now we're getting a nice little red candle here, nice little bearish engulfing candle here, taking out the last 4 hours. You got a demand zone here in the most traded price yesterday, so you could get a nice move here. Now, I have an anchored VWAP from this swing low right there. I want to see what it does there. Okay, that could be a little bear trap. Not anybody knows there's an anchored VWAP there. Okay, so here is last week's highs. We did not reach that yet, and there's a supply zone there. Here's the previous week's highs. Okay, we reached kind of there. That's where we just reached this morning. Now we're getting a nice red candle. Okay, now just to note, look at this move up. Okay, that is not great structure. Okay, we had basically a trend day higher, which was pretty much short covering. Now you're getting a nice bearish candle, right? So what happens if we take out the most traded price? So I have this on my charts, the most traded price of yesterday, right? So the most trades happened here. What if we take that out and we break this anchored VWAP from the swing low? Now you have poor structure here. You could very well rip back. I don't know if that happens. I'm just saying. This is the structure. Okay. One other note before I leave you on the ES chart is this high volume node above us right here. Okay. That also can cause, picture this like a big roadblock. All right. Now I'm going to zoom out to show you why. Okay. Why. And let's just make this really get all this price in here. Okay. So look at that price here and look at this big spike here. That's a high volume composite high volume node right there. What is that? Why is that there? This price action here and price action from the past. All right. Now this white profile is from a year ago. It goes all the way back to a year ago. Okay. So that probably would slow down the market a little bit. Okay. Just to show you that. Okay. Everything in combination of what I look at. I know it's a lot for some people to process. You know, it's not for me, it's just like it's just easy. It's just how I look at the market. So, and I understand that this is new to somebody. Of course, ask a question in the chat if you have one. Okay. So we're back here and we're at a key level right now. All right. We'll get into that in a little bit. So let's look at NASDAQ. Let's look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's getting a nice bearish candle, right? So they're breaking out of that ascending wedge. Okay. About to hit the anchor VWAP from the swing low. Same thing. Poor structure on the way down, right? What did we do? Held the most traded price of this year and the rolling year. This monster price, 214.35. Ultimate balance. Away from ultimate balance causes a big move. Away from ultimate balance causes a big move. Okay. Same thing. Symmetric move, right? Whoop. You matched it on the upside. That's why I was begging to get some type of pullback. Okay. Now, here you go. Got this little ascending wedge. You're breaking that. And this is a test. We're testing this anchored VWAP from this swing low. Does it hold? I don't know. Remember, the most traded price of the day is here. So these are longs that are up in here. Like I said, what if we start to take this out? You don't have you have poor structure holding up this price. We could very well test back here. Then if you go like that, woof, not good. I don't know if that happens, okay? Remember, this market has a lot of uncertainty in it. A lot of uncertainty. Okay. Here's your perspective again. Last week's highs all the way up there. We didn't come close to that yet. We did not come close to last week's highs in futures. Okay. Alrighty. Getting some love here, right? This needs to get defended here to get a leg higher. If it's not, and we start to accept value here, find acceptance here, yeah, there's not much holding this price up. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Those are your hourly chart analysis. Hopefully you guys like that. All right. Hopefully you do. And we're going to move on. All right. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to I'm going to change my workspace here in the futures, and we'll get right into the nitty gritty of the market profile and volume profile. All right. Into the nitty gritty. Large orders hitting the tape. Large orders hitting the tape. Got my alarm in my ear going off. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. Alrighty. I'm already looking at some stuff on profile right now that is very important. So we're going to go right here. We're going to go ahead and talk about market profile, volume profile. First thing I do is we look at our weekly profile. Okay. It's very important, right? This is all about structure. This is how I decide my plans, who's in control, right? So 59.15, you know, that's the most traded price of this year. We're above it. That's a feather in the cap for the bulls. Okay. The most traded price of the week is still down here. Now we have a node here, a high volume node that's getting made here. What we need to happen is for the most traded price to move up. That most traded price of the week needs to move up to kind of confirm that we can get a move higher. Okay, so let me explain that. If this price cannot pull value with it, price returns back to value. Okay, it's like a slingshot, a bow and arrow, whatever. Rubber band. Let's call it rubber band. Okay, you stretch it away from value, but if price can't bring value with it, it snaps back to value. Okay, this is why I like profile, because it's not about looking at the price action. It's about structure. It's about structure. Okay, now look at this profile. Actually, before we do that, let's get into yesterday's recap yesterday. Okay, recap yesterday, which we kind of did but we'll just do this here. Okay, opened, you had a test lower, had a consolidation a little bit. There's the previous day's highs and close, and pretty much you ripped up. Okay, that was short covering. All right, that's pretty much all she wrote about yesterday. Okay, now let's talk about what we got to look at now. Okay, so I want to show you something, and this is why I love profile, right? It's just right here, you can tell it's got a bearish imbalance to the profile. We all know, okay, a completed profile distribution looks like a bell curve. Okay, mostly everything in life is distributed like this, and it's like 68.3. That's like they call it, I think, 1 sigma move, 1 standard deviation. That's usually your very area low and very area high, and then your VPOC. Right? Most things that you do have even distributions. Okay. So when you look at this profile, does it look like a bell curve? No. Right? So you got a distribution here. And every low volume node is support and resistance. That's another thing about profile. You can just see with support and resistance right off the bat. You don't have to look at candlesticks. Now, look at the bottom of this profile. It's incomplete, right? Completed would be something looking like this. Okay. So it looks like it wants lower prices here. Do I know that's going to happen? No, I don't know that's going to happen. Do I think it probably will push down a little bit? Yeah. but it's all probabilities, right? This is a very, very, very incomplete profile. This, what you would call a mocha profile, was this needs to be corrected. Corrected meaning this needs to have a tail. Okay. So now let's talk about levels. Obviously, this overnight low 59.74 and this demand zone and the most traded price of yesterday is very important. Very important. Let's spread out this profile so we can look at the price action, because it's only 30-minute bars. We'll back it up a little bit. Okay, that's a nice candle here, right? Now, what that could mean is, all right, if we see this hold, obviously you got more market generator information. And what do we have at the top? You notice how we have a poor high at the top. Okay, that was longs had poor location here. Longs, poor location at that exact level. They could not move the price higher, so it went lower. Okay, so you also have an incomplete profile to the upside. So this makes this a juicy long. If we do this and come back through it, what do you think could happen if we hit this again? You're going to knock all these shorts out and you're going to propel the market higher. Okay. So it's pretty much a double distribution profile with incomplete to the downside, incomplete to the upside. So we're going to get a tail most likely regardless. Okay. Now, you always want to mark off the 50% retracement of a session when you make a move. That is 59.6475. 59.6475 is your 50% Fibonacci of the session. Right there. This, I would include the breakout level. That's your 59.53. So that's another, got a little bit of a single print here as well. Okay. And then you have a nice demand zone here to the lows of yesterday. And just these are all buy points. Demand zone again with the most traded price of this year, 59.15. Okay. Now remember what I said about the price action of yesterday. Remember I said it just kind of moved up in a straight line. Look at the volume. Very thin. Very thin. Okay, so we talk about Elfie, right? Elephant being held up by the toothpick. That's all this price action, right? And this could get wiped out very easily in a weak market. In a weak market. Now, of course, we have this area here. Talk about, you got that poor high and this supply and last week's highs 6,008. All right. Now, let's get right into scenarios here without further ado. Not sure who's watching this. If you are, welcome. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. If you don't, please ask questions. All right. Now, here's our price action. All right. Here's our price action. Remember what I said about I think we get a complete to the downside. So that's this level, right? We could do this, break it, give the tail to this profile, find buyers, and this would be a nice level to look at right here because this is the most traded price lead overnight. If you come back and hold this, yep, you're going to break this poor high, and we're going to go up and test last week's high, 6,008, and then maybe gravy on top of that. Okay. These are all buy points for this scenarios. Okay. You could also dip lower, right? Remember, this is the most traded price of yesterday. Those are longs. All right, those are longs. Remember, 50% retracement of this move. You can come down, okay, and test the breakout level. And maybe dip your toe into this demand, higher low, push through this, and try to break out. Okay. Now, if you do get deeper into here, could you get a long? Yes. Do I like it? Probably not. Okay. So I have to put it in there. This is not a fan of mine, but it could happen because you can come down. Elephant, the toothpick on this weak volume here, this poor structure here can get taken out. You can hit the week to date, month to date VWAP right here, and of course you can bounce as well. I don't think you go as high. Okay, and again you can go all the way down to bounce here. I don't think we take out these highs if we bounce there. Now, I don't want this thing to drop all the way down there because if you do, most likely the market's going to be weak. Okay, judging where we are right now. All right, let's move on to bearish. All right, bear side. Okay, now you could be licking your chops a little bit for the bear side of this. Why? Because you have failure up here and a big nice candle here that took out all these longs. Okay, these shorts are also susceptible up here. Okay, so how I look at this, a couple things that could happen, right? We're already getting bought up here. What I'd like to do, this could be a little bit of a bear trap, a bull trap, I'm sorry. Push up, break this, right? Think the bulls, oh, we're breaking out. Go to supply. In supply, you hit last week's high, 6,008. People take profits. Then you start going higher, low, higher, low. Now this is where the rubber meets the road. If you come through here, okay, and it really is all about the 59.80 level. Most trader price yesterday. If you take this out, you will make this complete profile, right? Then you're going to test the 50% retracement and yesterday's breakout level. Remember the poor structure here. Remember, Alfie. Okay. In a weak market, this just goes like this. Boom, boom, boom. Right back to balance and then uncertainty in the markets. 59.15. Okay, this would be considered a look above and fail, and then we go back and test the bottom of balance. This is how this would happen. Okay? Because longs who've been getting paid would need to cover. Okay? Now, we could also do this. Push, find acceptance, acceptance. Boom. Okay? That's what I'm looking for on the short side. Do I need to see something? Yeah, I need to see that the market is weak, tech's weak, something like that. Okay? Boom. That's ES for you. That is ES for you. We can move on to the NASDAQ. Alrighty. Let's look at the levels together. Okay, so first thing I noticed, we got nice level here. Got confluence high. All right, confluence high. We have the most traded price yesterday. All right, profile. Just trying to make a high volume node here. It is high volume node, but we need to see if we can move this most traded price of the week up higher. Right, confirm a move higher. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Makes it more probable to happen. Okay, remember, if price cannot pull value up, price returns the value. That's how it works all the time. Okay. Now, look at the profile. You actually have in the profile, you actually have a tail, which you don't have in the ES. Okay. So we're going to automatically, we're going to break this out into bars, 30-minute bars. You see the price action. Okay. Maybe even make this a little bigger. Okay. And get right into it. All right. You can see our profile. Right. Price. Where's that little dot? There you go. Price is hanging around that most traded price of the overnight, which happens to be the most traded price of yesterday. And remember what I said. Those are walls and magnets, okay? This area. That's the most traded price of yesterday. It's the most traded price of the overnight. You wrap it up with the overnight low, you have an important level. Because, folks, that's how our markets work. They consolidate and then trend. Consolidate and then trend. Okay? I know, we all know, most of these people are long from yesterday. So when you ever get them grouped together, the move away from the balance is going to cause pain. Okay? It's going to cause pain. However, look what the Nasdaq did. It put a little taily tail in right there. So that got a completed move to the downside. The ES did not. The ES did not. Now we have our confluence high, 217.68 right here. The overnight highs line up with yesterday's highs. So that's a breakout point, right? That's a breakout point. Your midpoint, 216.35 is your 50% retracement. Okay? Happens to be your value area low by time yesterday as well. And then you have, obviously, this whole little move has poor structure. You got a little bit of single prints here. All right, the breakout level is about 215.60. 215.60, which has a demand zone here. Now, the one thing I'll say is notice how much room this has away from ultimate balance. A lot more room than the ES does. Okay, a lot more. Month-to-day VWAP, week-to-date VWAP right here. So this is more bullish in structure than the ES. Now we do have the last week's highs all the way up here to 1858, to 1858. What a supply. What supply zone? This supply zone has been resistance for the markets. Now look, the price is moving lower, right? I don't know what's going to happen. Let's talk about it. All right, and I'm going to put this here. Okay, that's your resistance and the last week's highs in the supply zone. All right, time for scenarios. Time for scenarios. Okay. Let's start with the bull case. Now we do have a completed auction here. Doesn't mean it can't go lower. Okay, doesn't mean it can't go lower. You did break this demand zone here. Okay. And people are trying to fight to support this price. Remember, we saw the anchored VWAP from these swing lows. I believe it's from here. Don't quote me on that. I believe it's from this swing low. No, it's from this low. I have an anchored VWAP on that hourly chart, okay? And the support was right about here. Okay? So, first thing we're going to look at, right? Right here, demand. We've already had a little tail put in. That means that shorts took some profits, new longs came in. So, we could, right, open up, push up. Now, push up, right? And what do you want to do? You want to hold yesterday's most traded price. Hold. And then what? Break out of that confluence high at 217.68 and start to make your move higher. Here's a naked VPOC 218 from a past. You can see the VPOC here that's never been tested. And try to tap last week's highs, 218.58. 218.58. Okay? You can get a little berry trap here. You push down and the market's not that weak. You go to 50% retracement value area low from yesterday's session and you get some love, higher low, come through this most traded price of yesterday and try to make the move higher. Now, the farther we go down, the less I like it. Okay, but you have to put it in the scenario. We can push all the way down into this demand zone, okay, the breakout level, and tap the week-to-date, month-to-date VWAP here. Boop, boop. And start to move. And I would think we'd only get to here. That's about all I'm interested in. Yes, you could come down here as well. If we come all the way down here, the market's going to be weak. Okay, moving on. Bear side. All right. Look where we're at. Magnet City. right? Yesterday's most traded price, the most traded price of the overnight, right? Everybody's agree upon this price, and we are going to move away from it. Whoever's short, whoever's long in here is going to feel pain when we move away. That's why they're powerful. Okay, that's why they're powerful. So we're right here. All right, we could do one of two things: move away, right? Come up here to the supply zone. Think we're going to break out, have a nice little bull trap here, break that confluence high, fail, lower highs. Now we start to move down, right? Everybody who was long in here is going to feel this pain. You break this down, you're going to fall to the value area low of yesterday, the 50% retracement at 216.25. Okay, remember, this is on skinny foundation, poor structure. You could rip right back down to here. Then you got to deal with the month to date, week to date VWAP. But I would think this market probably would be weak, and we'd fall back to 214.35, the most traded price of this year and of the rolling year. Again, this would be a look above and fail, and we would go back down to the other side of balance, called 211.50. That's a look above and fail. That is called balance rules. Balance rules. Don't know if that happens, right? We could also open up, drive down, and find acceptance lower and push lower. Okay? It all depends what my market internals tell me, because I need to see what's underneath the hood of that market. Okay? That's what I'm looking at. That's the analysis for today. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Smash that like button for me. That would be much appreciated. Okay? Now, please join me every day. All right? Give you the market story, give you the leaders and the laggards, give you the market news, the economic calendar, daily charts, 1 hour charts, long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ and ES futures. Okay? We got our plan. We got our plan. I kind of like it. I kind of like our plans today. All right? Now, the one problem in the market recently has been the cross currents. Right? The market opened up yesterday and communications was weak. Google and Meta, right? They got together, but yesterday they were weak. And it makes it difficult to get on that train. Okay? I would like to see a day where we're just firing on all cylinders strong, or not firing and getting weak. Because then I can really lay risk on the line and go, okay, we should move lower. I got nothing in my way. All right, nothing in my way. That's how I like to trade. Okay? Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to go live or not today. But if I do, come join me. All right, come join me in my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, join up, sign up. Right, the more people, build a community. Right, I every day will update what I am seeing, what I think's driving the markets. And again, you could take that information and do what you want with it. Right, I don't have to tell you what to do, but it's definitely, you're going to get the 411 from your boy. Okay, of what is underneath the hood of the market. What is the market capable of doing? That is my edge. Okay, and I provide it every day in my Discord. So come join me. Okay, come join me. If you don't want to join me, that's fine. And just stay on my live stream. That's cool. You will see me tomorrow morning. All right. So everybody have a great day. No trades to trade. Stay green if you can.